Hey, everybody, and welcome to Ease of Spirits, Ministries of Hope. This is our weekly discussion group. And so I welcome you guys. I thank you for coming. We are working through a new series, and I'm really, really excited about it. It is The Hidden Power for Human Problems, and it talks about 7 parent thoughts. And he said those parent thoughts cause all of our problems. And it talks about how we can just get rid of them. It's hacks for those 7 parent thoughts. And so we are going to go into our next chapter. I think it's really, really a good one. I hope that it generates a lot of conversation. I really want tonight to be about conversation. And so the topic is a real good one. The topic is, why do the rich get richer? So I am going to begin in prayer, and then I'm going to share something that I actually use in my prayer work. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's called the Oath of Manifestation, since we are talking about prosperity tonight. So I want to say hi to everyone. I see Carl is here, and I see Yander is here, and Carol and Reverend May, and I thank you guys for being here. So let's just take a moment to settle ourselves. Let's just take a moment to settle ourselves, to take a few deep breaths in and release, and allow yourself to sit comfortably in your chair. Take another deep breath in. And relax. Let every muscle in your body just relax in the comfort of where you are, who you are, what you are. Relax. And one more deep breath in. And let go. Let go of all the thoughts of the day. Let go of whatever may have happened before we got to this point. Let go of everything but entering into the awareness of the allness of God. As we recognize that there is one power, there is one presence, and that is that everywhere present power of absolute good. The good, omnipotent one, God, stands with perfect integrity throughout all creation. That means that God does not change. God is life, love, substance, wisdom, power, is eternal, is infinite, and God does not change. That means that God as life, love, wisdom, substance, and power in your life is everlasting. It is continuous. And so you are a prosperous child of the Most High, created in God's image and likeness. You are never sick, hurt, or afraid, for spirit is God. And God is never sick, hurt, or afraid. And so we open ourselves to manifesting our real selves now. And so it is. Hey, everybody. I want to share something with you before we really get into the material. This is one of my favorite things to work with. When I do my prayer work with my prayer partner, we go about praying as usual. But what we normally do, I am going to mute as I hear background noises, and I will unmute you if, as we move along. But what I normally do, we pray as we normally do, and then we do this oath of manifestation. Because as metaphysicians, we talk about divine law. And since this is law, then that means that it's based on principle. Then that means that it should be demonstrated. And so we want to manifest. We get the demonstration first in our minds. And once you get that demonstration in your mind, you got it. But we want to manifest in our life, world, and affairs, whatever it is that we're working on in our prayer work. If we're looking for a healing in the body, we're looking for that to manifest. If we're looking for a healing in the bank account, we want to see the dollar signs increase. If we're looking for an increase in our professional life, we want to see those manifestations. So I really, really love this oath of manifestation. And I'm going to read it before we get going here. And so what it says here, when you're working with this oath, it says this oath is done every day with a partner, spoken out loud with tremendous feeling and emphasis. It can be said many times throughout the day. It can be recorded and listened to on your smartphone. So you really want to work with this. And you can, all you got to do is Google Oath of Manifestation. It actually comes out of a Agape church. So I'm going to go ahead on and read it. It says, I accept and receive unexpected good, unexpected money, unexpected love, unexpected kindness, unexpected generosity, unexpected offers, unexpected prosperity, coming in unexpected ways from unexpected places, people, and things in my life and in the lives of others. I am constantly being guided and boldly empowered to receive the lavish abundance of this universe. I accept the principle that abundance and prosperity have already been given to me. My acceptance makes it real, and it opens a space of manifestation in my heart and mind so that this good can just rush in. I open wide the doors of my heart to receive, to give, and it is done abundantly right now. Through this manifestation, all things are possible. I'm going to repeat. Through this oath of manifestation, all things are possible. I declare absolutely that I live in a friendly universe that is always providing for me. I feel it powerfully happening now. I open to receive more abundance and to give more abundantly than I ever have before. I can afford anything I desire. I repeat, I can afford anything I desire. In fact, I am so prosperous, I need not ever worry again. I am grateful for all that I already have. I'm grateful for all that I will have, but this is me ad-libbing. I'm especially grateful for the now, because in this moment of now, I can make the choice to recognize the abundance of God that's flowing in and through me and in and through all areas of my life. I keep myself lifted in this high consciousness, no matter what the appearances are. Moving myself out of the way, I say, let the God times roll. And so it is. Amen and amen. And that is the oath of manifestation. I thought it was appropriate because the title that we're working with tonight is, Why Do the Rich Get Richer? So I'm going to just open that up to everybody, just to get us warmed up in conversation a little bit. Why does it seem that the rich get richer? There is a scripture that Jesus even said that kind of supports that, because Jesus said, they that have shall have, and those that don't have will lose even the little bit that they have. So why is it that the rich get richer? Come on, guys, let's jump into this.
I'm ready.
You're ready, Carol?
I'm ready. They get richer because they want to get richer.
All right.
And once you understand the principle of that money is energy,
Mm.
and that it is an energetic component of who we already are and what we already have,
Yes.
then putting that principle to work by acknowledging it and understanding how to work it and wanting it and being willing to do whatever you need to do to make that happen. It's work. Doesn't just fall out of the sky.
Yes.
But for instance, setting a specific goal for it and then telling God what you're going to do with it.
Yes. So I love what you said, that money is energy,
Yes.
because really all things are energy. Everything
Everything
has vibration. And
Yes.
there is a frequency when you get to talking about that vortex. I don't know if you
Yes.
guys ever heard Abraham Hicks loves to talk about the vortex, talking about that vortex, that every desire that you have is already waiting for you in this vortex. We said in the Oath of Manifestation that all that I desire is really already mine.
Yes.
Thing that you have is in that vortex, but you have to get to the vibration and frequency of the vortex.
Yes.
You got to get to that vibration and frequency. So everything is energy. How do we match that energy? How do we match it?
Well, I can keep going if you want me to.
You're welcome to.
It's a matter of information and being willing, to understand and to raise there are methods by which you raise your vibration. One of them is the breath. So when we're in meditation and you say, take a deep breath, now take another one and another one. With every single breath, your vibration will rise.
Okay.
It's just like watching dough rise. It will rise with each deep breath.
With each breath, when we open up in prayer, oftentimes what you'll hear me say is take a deep breath and release.
Right.
And so what are we releasing? We're releasing anything that is not in alignment with this energy that we're about to go into, this spirit, this conversation about God and good. We want to release that. Maybe something happened in the day that didn't feel good. You want to release that energy connected with that thought or that experience. Maybe you have a memory in your mind. Maybe you're holding on to something, unforgiveness. You want to release. Now, you can pick it up again after you finish this, and often we do. Often we do, because we are in a process of becoming. And if you got deep-seated things going on in your subconscious mind, then you're going to have to go through that process of releasing until you actually neutralize all of those thoughts. But we're talking about raising our vibration. And so you raise your vibration as you drop these things. I was talking this morning, I'm doing a series on A Closer Walk with Jesus, and I'm doing it every morning on Facebook around 7:30 in the morning, except for on the weekend. I don't do it on the weekend because I got to sleep sometimes. But but I get up right before I go to work and I do maybe a 10-minute talk about it. And during that talk, I showed everybody the vibrational chart because we were talking about happiness. And actually, I was talking about happiness as a vibration. And I showed everybody the vibrational chart. And you can go online and there are many vibrational charts, but what they contain are various types of thoughts and feelings that we carry and how there is a vibration. So if you're dealing with things such as anger, resentment, unforgiveness, if you're dealing with greed, if you're dealing with things like depression, or all of these different things carry very low vibratory rates. It's very low frequencies, and you're drawing from those frequencies. Now, if you want to experience something like joy, you got to drop that stuff because it's like baggage that you're carrying. My girl,
Yes.
what's my girl's name? Erica Badu. She says, bag lady, you go hurt your back carrying them like that, right? So
Right.
you gotta drop those bags, because what we want to do is live higher in vibration, right? We want to go to that level of joy.
Yes.
And so that's what we're talking about here when we talk about, you know, how do we reach that frequency of prosperity? Realizing that God is always providing for us. Anybody want to add to the conversation? What do you think? Why does the rich get richer? That's what we're talking about today. Why do the rich get richer? Why does it seem like rich people can lose their money and get it back? What is that? You see millionaires. You got millionaires, they lose their money and they get it back.
It's what they believe.
It's their conscious. What do we get? Everything we get in our life is based on consciousness. Here comes my husband. Everything you get in your life, you get by right of consciousness. Let me move aside.
You see, I think it comes down to what you believe. What you believe is what you will create in your life. And if you believe that you're supposed to be rich, you are going to eventually be rich, because your belief will cause you to create the circumstances that will allow you to be rich. If you do not believe that you're going to be rich, you're not going to be rich. I mean, it's just that simple. And when when my wife was talking about joy, what flashed through my head, whenever I think of joy, I think of children. And whenever you think of joy, you can imagine children just laughing and giggling and just having a grand old time. And this morning, when she was doing that, she did that walk with Jesus this morning, and I was listening in on it. And she talked about joy. And again, I pictured children, and I pictured the joy of a child at Christmas. And when you say rich people are rich because they believe they're going to be rich, if you ask a child what they want for Christmas, they may tell you a pony. They may tell you anything. It could be the most unreasonable thing in the world, whatever their imagination allows them to think of. And we as parents, our job is to take that and mold it into something more reasonable. Well, honey, you can't get a pony. You can't have a rocket ship. You can't be a cowboy. And we gradually take the child and we bring them into what we call a reasonable expectation that they'll be able to live with. But are we wrong for doing that? Because I believe Scripture said, when you look to the east, the west, the north, and the south, and as far as you can see, which means as far as your imagination will take you, that is yours.
Yes, that's what
so
it says.
We start to limit the imagination of our children and limit their vision, which imagination is another word for vision. And we do that with ourselves as well. We do not allow ourselves to see ourselves as rich because my mama wasn't rich. I don't know nobody rich. How can I become rich? And you have this doubt. Whereas a person who is wealthy and who has experienced wealth will always see themselves as a wealthy person, even if you take everything away. And because their vision is of a single eye toward wealth, they will bring about the circumstances that will reestablish wealth, even if you take it away. It's not about the asset. It's not about how much money they have. It's about the vision and the belief.
Yes, and you can sit there, honey. You might as well sit right there. So I would add to what he's saying. I would add that by saying that scripture also says that no one will by any means make it into the kingdom of heaven unless they become like a little child.
Yes.
See, you got to be willing to really believe that God is providing for you, just like that child that's to get that pony. If you're dealing with a need for healing, you got to believe that it is God's will for you to be healthy and be open and receptive. It doesn't matter what the doctor is saying. You got to know that this is not the truth of my being. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are showing. I am perfect, whole, and complete. You know, one of the things that happened, and this is going off topic a little bit, and I'm going to get back on, but something happened to me. We have been talking constantly on my job about the coronavirus. It is constant. And I watch as everything that we're used to doing and the way we're used to doing business is changing because of this. And people being sent home. They won't send Andrea Graham home, but everybody else being sent home because of this. But let me just say this. This virus, it is seeking in the subconscious mind. We have to protect ourselves from this in the atmosphere, this concept of sickness. I woke up one morning and I actually felt sweaty. I felt like I didn't feel good. I was like, oh my goodness, I hope I don't have it. I did my broadcast. I took my vitamins. I went to work. And before I can go to work, they're going to take my temperature, right? So, and when I get ready to go in, they ask me how I'm doing. I always say perfect, whole, and complete. Do you have this? Do you have that? No, I'm perfect, whole, and complete. And they laugh at me.
Definitely.
Okay, Connie, I finished my thought. And so what happened? By the end of that day, I knew that it was the mind. It was just the mind. Because you're hearing so much of that. Bethany, did you have your hand up, darling? Could you tell us?
Oh, I'm sorry. I kind of forgot what I was saying. I was going to say, except I really liked your analogy of going back to being a little child. I think we need to have that childlike belief that we can accomplish things if we want to.
Yes.
Kids don't see, like James was saying, kids don't see those limitations unless we put them on them.
Yes.
So we're doing our children a disservice when we tell them they can't do something or shouldn't do something or whatever.
We start to take that magic of believing out of our children little by little.
Yeah.
And I've heard of stories of children that, you know, we have senses that we don't use.
Sure.
And there are things in the atmosphere that we don't always see. I happen to know that there is a divine energy that surrounds all of us because I've seen it. I've seen aura. Sometimes I see it, and sometimes I don't. But I have heard of situations where people always from a young age could see things. And they were told that they were just being imaginative, that it is not real, and it stomps out that part of the person. Because there are things that people see, and you know, we're connected mentally. And so there are people that can read thoughts. There are people that have a strong sense of discernment that's like that. There are people that see the spiritual atmosphere that surrounds a person. Now that one I can attest to because I've seen it. I've seen people where I could see disease in them. And it's there in the spiritual atmosphere that surrounds you. I've seen a person circled with green, muddy green, And my spirit told me that that person either had a disease or was addicted to something, but it had poison in the system. Different people have more of that than others. This is just the truth. I don't want to get too woo-woo on people. I can't help it. It's just what I am. But it is true. It is true. And with children, they see things and experience things clearer than adults because
Yeah.
haven't, yes. Anybody want to add to that? Yeah, because they haven't gotten to too concrete with the things that we see in the outer. With the facts, we know that facts change. So if we want to lift our vibration to get back to the topic that we're getting to, we have to release those things that hold the vibration down. That's what we got to do. So I thank you guys for that brief conversation. It was wonderful. So we're in chapter 4 in the book, and it says, why the rich get richer. Now, this guy is talking about, he uses a lot of case studies in what he talks about. And he meets a gentleman, and he tells this gentleman that is a part of the prison system. He tells him, he said, I really would like to study the mind of a criminal. Really, I would really like to do that. And so this conversation led to him going to this prison. And so this is what we're going to be looking at is a state of consciousness, and we're going to compare it to another state of consciousness. These are 2 case studies that the gentleman, the writer of the book, did. So he goes to this prison, and there is an inmate, the inmate there serving the food. And he notices one inmate that just looks regal. He looks like he would never be an inmate. He just has all of these very dignified features, and he's taken by this inmate. And the warden assures him, well, yes, he's where he belongs. He committed a pretty heinous murder. So he ends up talking to a number of the inmates, and he ends up talking to this gentleman, and he gets into a conversation with the gentleman. And the gentleman actually says, I came up poor. My father left the old lady, meaning his mom, at an early age. Right now, we're dealing with the parent thought of separation. We talked about that last week. Right there, you're dealing with the parent thought of separation. His father deserted the family. He said, I made it the best way I could. It is no way for poor people to make it, but to just get what they can get.
Wow.
Always gets richer. And so what Mr. Frederick Bell said is that this is true. Jesus put it this way. Whoever has will have, and whoever does not have will lose what he has. But it's based on consciousness. It's based on consciousness. If you have a particular consciousness for prosperity, you're going to draw it. And then he talks about something else. Now he said, before I move too fast, he says, our thoughts are the alpha and omega of our experiences. So whatever it is we have in our life, the writer is saying we are getting it by right of our consciousness, our thoughts, whether we know it or not. We could be using affirmations over and over again saying, I'm a rich child of the Most High. But if deep down in your heart, you have not accepted it, can it happen?
No.
If you haven't accepted it in your heart, what does the affirmations do?
True.
Think about it.
It does not connect.
It does not connect. But do you stop doing them?
No.
No, because what are we doing as we use our affirmations?
You're exercising your thought processes to get what you would like to get.
You are impressing your subconscious mind. You're exercising your thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You are impressing the subconscious mind.
I like that. Impressing the subconscious mind.
Yes.
Like building a muscle.
Yes. And you are speaking in the language of spirit. The language of spirit is absolute good. It is abundance. It is unlimitless. It is unlimited, and it is freedom. And so if I could show you the threefold being, the diaphragm, I could actually show you. But you are speaking in the language of spirit, impressing the subconscious mind. And eventually what happens is you stir the Holy Spirit within you.
Mm-hmm.
And as you stir that Holy Spirit, you receive the spiritual baptism of the Holy Spirit. And that's how you cleanse the mind, cleanse the subconscious mind. This is how you do the purification of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get it. That's how it works. So he tried to show that a man's thoughts has power, that is the alpha and omega of his experience. And in the verse he was saying, and he's talking about why Jesus said, unto everyone that have shall be given, but he that have not shall be taken away, even that he have. He said Jesus is trying to show the power of thought. This is what he told the gentleman, the inmate. He is saying that those who gather more of a world's good have evidenced a more vigorous money consciousness. Those that show more of prosperity, of those proof of prosperity, the manifestations of prosperity, they have a money consciousness. Now, sometimes you see this in the criminal mind too. There are criminals that have amassed great deals of money, but they're not operating according to divine law. And there goes the problem. They're misusing the law of prosperity. They're not operating according to divine law. And scripture says, I shall not be mocked. Whatever a man sows, so shall he reap. So they will reap what they sow. Before a time, it looks like they are prospering.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, he did not debate whether wealth was good or bad. Jesus wasn't talking about whether wealth was good or bad, or whether a person acquired it rightfully or wrongfully. He merely stated the law of mind by which one draws anything into his experience, including prosperity. Let's talk about prosperity. What is it? What is prosperity? Is it just money?
No.
It's a principle.
Pardon me?
Is it not a principle?
Could you explain that?
Well, it's a substance. It's again a consciousness that, because you can be of average income and be very prosperous.
Amen.
And prosperity and abundance come in all kind of packages.
Yes.
And money is one of them. They're burning money right now.
It is a principle. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
really a principle.
what if you have all the money in the world, but you don't have perfect health? You're sick.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have prosperity, that's for sure.
What if you have all the money in the world and your children are doing all manner of things and the household is falling apart and your family is totally unhappy.
Yep, prosperity is all inclusive of all
Yes,
the factors of life, not just money.
yes, yes. You want to say something?
You know, before we started the class today, Reverend May and I were having a discussion in reference to this situation that's going around, so-called virus. And Reverend May and I were talking, and I told her that it seems to me that at this point, the situation has been brought about, probably caused by our collective consciousness, that the whole world actually needs to hit the reset button and determine what is the most important things in life. You know, it doesn't matter because, like I said to her earlier, we're seeing with the basketball player for the Nets, multi-million-dollar contract, he's got the virus. Tom Hanks has the virus. A couple of congressmen have the virus. It doesn't matter how rich you are. It doesn't matter how much material you've amassed. It doesn't matter about anything except you are subject to this particular virus. Now, I know a lot of people in New Thought say, God is my health and I can't be sick. A lot of us say that. If we really believe that, if you really believe that, I believe if you will be able to withstand the virus. I'm not saying don't take precautions. I'm not saying don't wash your hands. I'm saying use discernment. I'm saying using wisdom. But I believe that if you can get back to where spirit leads you, you can avoid this illness. You can avoid this, the right of your consciousness. I believe the whole world has been put into a position where we have to be sequestered, where we actually have to take time and think about what is most important in life. You know, with all the gold and riches that a Tom Hanks has, it doesn't buy him one more second of life.
Although Tom is fine.
Tom is fine, I understand it, but the point is, if you do not have the consciousness, if you are not close to if you're not allowing spirit into your life, then you're not going to really be prosperous, as Andre's saying. And if you don't have your health, you can't be prosperous. So it all goes to the conversation that May and I were having before class. A lot of you didn't hear. There were only two or three people in the room at that time. And by the way, May, I wanted to thank you for those 2 things that came in the mail today. I didn't have a chance to thank you. Thank you very much for that. And Reverend May, I wish, do you recall the answer that you gave me when we were talking about that?
No, but I can give you some comments now.
Go ahead on, Reverend.
Okay, first of all, you talked about what is prosperity, and I believe it was Carol who pretty much came to what we really define it. She's correct, because prosperity is a consciousness that does not believe in lack of any kind.
Right.
And so then when we talk about how we have to get our mind to where it should be, remember that we found out in the beginning in Lessons in Truth that we've really forgotten why we're here, our origin and our purpose, all of that. So then when we get to Paul, he says that there's something that we have to do. And I just want to give you 3 words. And one is conform, one is reform, and one is transform. So what happens when we're trying to understand the truth, we don't conform to what already the society believes. And to reform means that we go back to trying to get in that position of being conformed. So then the one thing that we have to do is completely transform our thinking. So we have to get in the consciousness that we really begin to believe there is nothing in this universe that stands in the way of anything that we need. There's no limit at all. And reading, if you remember, I gave a lesson on prosperity last summer, and I read part of Bale's book. And it said that there is a stuff that the mind permeates to give you what it is you want. And that stuff is substance, and what you think is the key to permeating that stuff, because
Yeah.
that then manifests what you need in your life. So even though they lose money, they know that there's no end to that. It's the possibilities of knowing that it doesn't stop there. They just move right on. They just move right on to the next thing because they understand there's no limit. There's no limit. And I know when I teach these classes, I try to get as simplistic as I possibly can. And I'm going to do that now because I'll use Tide, the detergent Tide.
Mm-hmm.
When Tide created detergent, just like a lot of other people, some of these detergent companies did not stop at Tide. They started putting bleach in it to make it better. They start putting fabric softener in there to make it better. A lot of these people take one product and they keep making it better and better and better. They have found that there's no limit to doing that.
Yes.
And that's what we have to think on. We have to think on those kind of things. That what can we use that we can refine into something greater? Because God does not stop giving us ideas because we've manifested that one thought and brought it into being. So it's just the way that they think. It's the process about how they think. They're thinking differently
Yeah.
than the rest of us. And if we can get control of our thinking, that there is no limit of any kind. You got the money, you say there's no health, but there's no limit to good health.
No limit to good health.
Yeah.
There's no limit to anything you put limitation on, then you will suffer because you think that you don't have it or you can't have it. You don't deserve it, whatever the case may be. Done.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
Yes. Anybody want to add to that? Reverend is absolutely right. I totally agree with her. Anybody have any more comments? I want to direct you guys. I'm going to go back to my oath of manifestation because I think that it's a principle here that I want to bring to mind. And when you're talking about prosperity, we need to realize that there is no limit to God. And you always hear me using this scripture that I love, and there's a couple of them like it. One is, for I know the plans that I have for you. That tells us that we don't have the full picture. The other one, eyes have not seen and ears have not heard, nor has it entered into the heart of man, the good that God has for those who love him and who's obedient to his purposes. And Reverend alluded to what that purpose is, because we have forgotten who we are and we have forgotten our spiritual purpose. We are spirit and we have a spiritual purpose. And so, yes, when you are obedient to that spiritual purpose, you are showing that you love God. So we cannot outline all the good that God has for us. I was walking into my job today and I've been contemplating changing the job because I'm driving an hour all the time. And I put some out to some other places. And I said, God, wherever it is that I'm supposed to be for my highest good, you place me there. Now, if I see an opportunity, I'm going to go for it. But I'm going to trust you to work it out for my highest good, because God can only do for me what God can do through me. But I love what the oath of manifestation says. It says that I accept and receive unexpected good. Understand that we have to always be open for God to come through the multitude of channels that are available to us. Because we don't open ourselves up to the vast amount of channels that's available for God's good to flow, we begin to make the channel the God. And I'm going to tell you how that works. If you believe that the only channel that your good can come through is your retirement check or your disability check or your
Yeah.
paycheck, then that means that you've just made that your God, because you have you've plugged in all of the other channels that's available. God can flow through a multitude of channels that we don't even have any insight about and don't know anything about in the form of prosperity. And it has happened too many times to Jim and I, where things came unexpectedly. So you have to open yourself up to the unexpected good, the unexpected generosity. You don't know who is going to give you a love offering for something that you're doing unexpectedly. The unexpected doors that's going to open up to you. You don't know what unexpected opportunities and doors are going to open up to you that you're going to walk through. You could be going to the store and meet just the right person that has a solution for something that you're working on. So when we talk about the unlimitedness of God, then we're talking also about the unlimited, vast amounts of channels through which God can flow. Unexpected good coming in and through unexpected people, places, and things. So that is part of that prosperity consciousness that we are talking about. So what he says here, when Jesus is talking about those that have will get, it's a song, Mama may have, God bless the child that has his own. Those that have will get, those that don't will not. Okay? He said he's merely stating, Billie Holiday, he's merely stating a law of mind by which one draws what Reverend May was saying, not just the money, anything that you have in your experience. Anything that you have in your experience, you're drawing by this law of mind. If it is happy and joyous experiences, just to be happy and have just beautiful experiences, you have a consciousness for that if that's what you're experiencing in your life. If it's friends, you have a consciousness for drawing people to you through the attribute of love. If it's opportunities for professional growth, you just have that consciousness for that. All that we get is by right of our consciousness. I love it when somebody get promoted on a job and everybody start talking about why that person shouldn't have gotten a promotion. They don't have this and I got more of that. Well, you don't have the consciousness. They got the consciousness, and that's why they got the promotion. So the study expectancy of money had drawn money to them. Now they had it. Very well. The same consciousness would draw more to them. But the person that has the consciousness, like that gentleman in prison, he believes that if he's going to get, he's got to take it from you. He believes in lack and limitation. That's what's going on with him.
Right.
So what we're talking about here is this next parent thought. It is the parent thought of futility. And that states that something is always going to go wrong.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Now you got to ask yourself if you've ever suffered from that. That's a personal question. Are you suffering from it now?
No.
And if you want to know whether or not you have or are, search the things that you say out of your mouth in conversation. We all probably have a little bit of it. Search the things that come out of your mouth in conversation. Do you go for a job interview on your job and say they've already chosen the person? They know who they go pick. That is a parent thought of futility. He grew up poor. His mother had a husband that left her. Everything that he tried to do, it looks like all he saw was poverty all around him. And he accepted it. And he developed a consciousness that it is futile. There is no hope. There is always something that's going to go wrong. So here, I'm going to go to the next person he wanted to talk about, because he talks about this person growing up poor, all of the things that I talked about. I'm going to read this lady's life. There are those who have broken away from slum and who have never allowed them to infiltrate their souls. And so this woman, Jacqueline Cochran's thrilling life story he talks about. The stars at noon, she courageously strips away all pretense and tells the story of her early life, spent amid a most sordid circumstances. She'd been half starved, half educated. One might almost say half civilized. This is how she grew up, living in the swamps of the southern states. She had something within her that refused to allow the swamps to set their measure upon her. The law of God written on her heart made her determined to burst the bars of circumstance and grapple with the evil star. Walking out of that unambitious home, she became a proficient beauty operator at the age of 13. A trained nurse before she was 20. And the wife of a millionaire a few years later. She was born as poor as you could get. But she refused. She knew deep in her heart. See, there is something within us that knows the truth of our being. It depends on whether or not we stomp it out. But at the age of 13, she refused to listen because her people, her parents, her family, they laughed at her when she talked about what she was going to do, what she was going to be. They laughed at her. So now we have two case studies. We have people with similar circumstances, both of them born very poor. Both of them had dysfunctional families.
Mm-hmm.
But one suffered from the parent of fertility and one overcame it. It's all about consciousness. And so he says here that it sets the sails, not the gales. And I had to think about that. I'm like, what is he talking about? It sets the sails, not the gales. And what he is saying is this: our thinking, it determines the course that we're going to take. You know, you set the sails on a boat and that guides the boat. It's not storms. You can let the storms guide you. And you're going to be just like a leaf that's being blown by the wind, going any direction that the circumstances of life take you, instead of you controlling the circumstances in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So it is through our thinking that we shape and form our world. That is a principle. That is the law of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So what he says is that you may feel like things are always going wrong in your life. You may feel like that, but realize that every thought, every feeling carries a vibration. And what you have is what you're going to get, right? That's what Jesus said. And that goes with, if what you have is a negative state of mind, you're going to reap the benefits of that negative state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And so he uses this beautiful analogy. He talks about how miners would look for gold. And he says that they don't really look for big chunks of gold. They look for the little nuggets. That's what they usually get. I mean, if they get a big chunk, I'm sure they're happy. But generally speaking, that's not what they find. And he uses that to say there is always some nuggets of gold. If you think that you've had a terrible day, you need to look over your day and find something to be grateful for. Because whatever it is that you look for, this is what you're going to find.
Yes.
We tend to find what we're looking for. I remember when I first started going to a particular church, I couldn't see nothing but good. Because spiritually, that's where I was. Subsequently, the most highly spiritual people drew me into their circle and protected me from anything that was not highly spiritual. And I couldn't see anything but that. But I could invite people to come, and they say these people look you up and down. They're judgmental. I feel like they're judging me. That's their consciousness. You tend to see what you are looking for. I was looking for spirituality as a young metaphysician. I was on fire with this teaching because I never heard anything like it. It saved my life, and I wanted more. And God gave me more. So whatever you have going on in your mind, know that what you're putting your attention on is going to increase. As the miners get the little nuggets, they can melt it all together, and now they got a lot of gold. So don't overlook those little nuggets as you're going through your day. The person that gave you that compliment, the smile that someone gave you, the thing that you got right, you did it exactly right. You accomplished something. The way the traffic flowed in your favor. Look at those little nuggets. Because as you look at those little nuggets and you combine them all together, now you've got a good day. Don't just focus on it. It's usually just one thing. We have a zillion good things go right. We'll have one thing go wrong, and we will talk about it and fret about it and worry about it. I've done it. That's how I can tell you. You got to look at the little nuggets.
Yeah.
What did Paul say? He said, count it all as good. He said, if it's good, if it's true, if it's pure, if it's just, if it's anything that is noteworthy and of good report, he said, you go on and meditate on that.
Yes.
And it all adds up. So he talks about this school teacher. So this school teacher, she talks about her kids. She just says they're terrible. They're awful. They're rude. They won't listen. They won't learn. You know, she just really was having an issue with her class. And he told her, every day after your class leaves, I want you to take 15 minutes and do an inventory of the day. And I want you to write down, no matter how small, every good thing that happened. Mm-hmm. And then I want you to meditate on it at night. Meditate on those good things. Even if there are only trivial things, write them down, he says. Then at home, lie down comfortably and let your mind drift back along the events of the day, the good things that happen. There might be only 3 encouraging things remembered, but these can make a tiny nugget. He was to give thanks for them and allow them to become the nucleus of. This is how you build that vibration. This is how you build it. For the next day, more would be remembered. And what happened is the kids started to change.
Law of attraction.
Yes, the law of attraction. The kids started to change. He started to notice. I'm going to tell you something. If you get your mind right about a situation that you're in, a situation with people, places, and things that you're in, 1 or 2 things are going to happen. Either you're going to be removed from that situation to something better,
Or it's
or
gonna
the whole situation will magically change. And you won't know when or how it happened. I promise you. This stuff works if you work it. So I'm going to read on. Let me see. One's fortune begins with us. So he's telling us that if we want, the rich gets richer because of their mindset is basically the answer. And so he says, in one sense, none of us ever has a chance except the chance that we make for ourselves. You can inherit wealth. You can have a brilliant mind and do nothing with it to cultivate it. And what good is it? It's of no use. If you're given these things at birth, but you don't cultivate it, you're just like, you know, the story that Jesus tells in the Bible where he talks about the master that gives the talents to his servants, leaves, and the one servant buries his talent. When we are given gifts and talents that we don't use, it's like we're burying them, and they become ineffective. They do not grow. No one is ever condemned by a power that's outside of himself. See, we tend to think that the reason why we're not becoming richer is because it's set up for the rich. Everything is set up for them. Look at the tax laws.
Yeah.
And I know that we say these things. Trump don't care nothing about anybody but the rich.
Right.
But what is that to thee? Follow me. That's what Jesus said. What is that to thee? Follow these principles. So this is a mistaken view of life, and it may never lead you to criminal behavior, but it can ruin your chances for happiness. It can hold you in the shackles of the parent thought of futility, where the will to win almost disappears. But he says almost, because deep in our heart is that knowledge of who and whose we are. Deep in in our heart is the knowledge of who and whose we are. So it says here, I'm going to read at the bottom of the page, it says, what a person is to the bottom of himself is with him all the time. So if you continue to think these thoughts, no matter what you do, no matter how you try to conceal it, the evidence is going to be in the manifestation. So what do you guys think about what this man is saying? Any thoughts about what we've discussed so far? Are you a whiner or a winner? Ask yourself, are you a whiner or a winner?
I'm a winner.
Amen. Because we can whine about the lot that we have been born into. But you might be coming through these things to show other people that they can.
Yep.
I think about the one lady that I know that she just on what's that young lady talk lady that was on MSNBC, and she ended up going somewhere else.
Cameron Hall.
That's her. Is that Laurelyn?
Yeah.
Hey, Laurelyn.
Hey.
A friend of mine was on her show recently. But this woman was held captive by her husband in bondage, locked up, brutalized, raped in front of her kids. She just went through so much. And she could say, you know what? She could have given up, but she never did. And when she broke through, now she is an advocate. She got a beautiful marriage now. She's doing wonderful. She just left that talk show. You know, she's just doing remarkably well. So it could be that what you're going through is going to be used to show others what they can do.
Wow.
Because if you can do it, they can do it. It could be, I know that my life is being used for me to talk to young men that I have in my building where I work, because I've been through some things. I got some scars. And so I can talk to them. So they don't say Miss Graham don't know what she's talking about because she doesn't know my life. Yes, I do. I like to say I got a GED, but I also have 3 other degrees, including a master's. And I would have a doctorate if it wasn't for other people that I had to pay for their college.
Never
So,
too late.
you know what? I don't know about that when I'm not being moved to do that, but I would love to see a Dr. Graham. I think I've had enough, but I'd love to see a Dr. Graham. And I think I will.
It'll probably be one of our kids.
That's what I'm talking about. He said it's going to be one of our kids. And I said, that's what I'm talking about.
That's all right.
What do you guys think about this?
I like it.
I never thought of the fact that things that I've gone through would be a help to somebody else. Never really thought about that concept.
That's Bethany, honey. You never thought about it. Definitely. I believe because look at how we look at Jesus's life. Isn't Jesus's life being used to help us now? Isn't how he overcame and the things that he done and the principles that he taught? Isn't that how we look at the things that he do to apply them in our lives? Because Jesus told us that you can do this. You can do even greater if you put your mind to it. Nothing is going to be impossible to you. If you have the faith of a mustard seed, nothing is going to be impossible to you. He is our way sure because he's our example. He did it. And you know, once somebody else does something, they kind of create a path that makes it easier for the next. He set the blueprint. This is how it's done. And so when we see people that have gone through some horrific things, they can stand in front of someone that may be going through similar things or even less than what they're going through. We're not going through half of what Jesus went through. But they can say, look, I went through all of this. I know you can handle that. I overcame all of this. You can handle that. Because the same stuff that I have, they have. God is in and through all people as life, love, power, authority. So the same stuff that I have, my kids got. So I keep telling them, and I keep telling them. So it says, no dictator, no politician can give a man anything more than his own consciousness draws in. They could send us these stimulus checks, but they can't give us the consciousness.
Right.
We got to build the consciousness. All they can give is a political system. Within that system, each of us can garner only that which is the reproduction of our own consciousness. They who have not the consciousness remain slaves under the system. And Jim liked to talk about these parent thoughts as if they are DNA, because that's what the gentleman says, that you can have a consciousness that's tied to your ancestry. And so if you want to talk about, say, a slave mentality or consciousness, that is something that you may have to work with that's generational. A prison mentality. Some of the people that I have worked with has had generations of folks being in prison. To the point that it is a part of your DNA. Now, I don't know if I buy all that, but I do know this. You can have people that have never met each other that are family that have the same mannerisms.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know how deep this DNA thing really goes. This writer is surmising that even your thinking, the way you think, can be influenced by your DNA that you're getting, and you get these parent thoughts that are ancestral.
Yeah.
It's just something to think about, The cream will always rise to the top. So you ask yourself, am I a whiner or a winner? Am I the cream? It always rises to the top. It always has, it always will. This is not of man's law.
You are the cream unless you choose not to.
It is the law of God working through man's mental operations. See, Katie, Emily Katie, he says that I am one with God and I'm governed by his laws. This is true. This is true for everybody. I don't care whether you are demonstrating the way you want to or not. You are governed by God's laws. That's why I always have to tweak it and say I am one with God and I am in harmony with God's laws. I want to be in harmony with them. I want to flow with God's law of prosperity. Because you can always go the other way. The law is always working. It works if you work it, but you're always working, but how are you working it? This is always the question. And so he ends with the rich get richer, the poor gets poor. Truer words have never been spoken, but it is a statement of mental law, not an edict of God. The riches are the riches of consciousness. The riches are the riches of consciousness. That's why I like that oath of manifestation. It says there is absolutely nothing that I could desire that I don't already have. The Father takes care of me. All I got to do is look to the lilies of the field and see how God has dressed them better than Solomon in his best. I can look at the birds in the sky and see that they don't worry about anything. And I know that I'm worth more than flowers and birds because every hair on my head is being counted. I know that God will do much more for me, for it is the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. And so that's all I have, everybody. Hey, Shauna. That is all I have.
Hey.
Oh, let me tell you, Laura Lynn, you know, I should do this update. Ease of Spirit Ministries of Hope, they told us that we cannot go into church. I shouldn't feel bad. I mean, they're shutting down everything. Now they don't want more than 10 people meeting. So they're telling us that we cannot go in the church. We can go in it, just me and Jim, but we can't have anybody come. So we are going totally online with the ministry right now. And, Laura Lynn is going to do the first sermon. And so she is going to be doing it. We're working out all of the details.
Yes.
So I don't know exactly whether or not, what format, whether we're using Facebook Live or whether we're going to use Zoom. It is a way to do Zoom Live.
When will that be, Andrea?
That's going to be this Sunday.
This Sunday, okay.
Yeah, at 11 o'clock.
Will it be a Zoom meeting or you don't know yet?
Pardon me?
Will it be a Zoom meeting or do you not know yet?
We're leaning heavily towards Zoom, but we're not certain. But as soon as I know the full details, I'll let you know. My daughter is going to definitely do hers, I think, Facebook Live. She's doing Millennial Sunday, and I'm really excited to see what she does because, you know, these young people grew up in this age and probably know, you know, when you get to talking about the online forum, it's a lot of things that you need to think about in packaging and stuff. So I'm kind of curious to see what she's going to do. But Laura Lynn is next week. Laura Lynn, what's the title of your sermon?
Returning to the place called strength.
Yes, returning to the place called strength. So I know that that's going to be excellent. I invite you all to be a part of it, but we haven't worked the details out yet because it's so new. You know,
I will be there.
All right.
On.
My husband is telling me to remind everybody 7:30 in the morning. If you happen to be up and about, I am doing these little talks with the Closer Walk with Jesus. I am loving it. You know, I actually think it's more for me than anybody else. I'm growing, and it's just been beautiful. So I've been doing that every morning faithfully, somewhere around 7:30, and they're recorded. So even if you miss it at 7:30, please go in and look at it, like it, share it, because we really are trying to increase our online presence. You know, I'm taking a look at my YouTube channel, and I'm really gonna start focusing on what I should be doing with that YouTube channel.
So if you don't have Facebook, it's not available, right?
I probably can send you a link. I can probably send you a link.
I don't have Facebook.
Yeah, and I'm gonna let my husband in everything because he has things that he's saying, and I'd rather him talk about that. So, honey, I'm gonna step aside, and you could go ahead on and end in prayer.
Yeah, I've been a little distracted tonight because I'm receiving text after text after text. My favorite uncle, the one that Reverend May has been praying for a long time, and he made his transition.
Sorry to hear that.
So yeah, well, and I have been contacting the family. We are making arrangements for him to have a memorial once this entire situation clears up. But in light of the situation we're going through, we're going to be going
No, you just had
online.
chips. Please put that back. Save that for tomorrow.
We're going to be going online on a regular basis. Our sermons will be online, and this will probably be for at least the next 2 months. So if you do not have Facebook, if you have no way of getting the sermons, please email or text us, and we'll find a way to make sure that you can get your sermons. For now, we have a daily walk with Jesus that Andrea is doing, and I think we had one where it was up to, what was it, 1,400 people or something?
No,
1,700. It reached 1,700 people, so that's very encouraging. That doesn't mean that everybody sat there and listened to the whole thing, but it is a way to reach people, and it's a way for us to stay in touch without having to make physical contact. We're going to be doing that for the next few months, and even after we go back in the building, we're going to continue with our online presence, because I believe there's a lot of people who actually prefer to get that. There's some people who are bedridden or hospitalized who can also be able to receive spiritual food that way. So like I said, I believe that this whole thing is a way for God to have us touch a reset button and determine what is most important in our life. It is not a positive thing in many aspects, but you see, what is negative and what is positive is all a matter of how you
No
perceive it.
such thing.
You know, it's just a thing that's happening, and we have to realize that we see the good in this, because it will make us no longer focus on the material in life.
Right.
They're always focused on their job, their money, and so, you know, maybe families will start sitting down and playing Monopoly together. You know, whatever it takes, but people will have to get closer to and get back to their familiar roots, and we'll have to get back to what's really important in life. And I think it's a time to hit a reset button. Realize that the source of our good is not a job, it's God. It's not anything but God. And once you set the reset button for, if it takes the 2 months for you to focus on the good of God, if it focuses on, it take you to refocus and reset yourself to understand what's really important in this life. Your health. You cannot be sick. You cannot be sick. If you truly believe that, you will not be sick. I'm not telling you to run around and touching microphones like that basketball player did, but use your spirit of discernment, use the spiritual powers God has given you, including wisdom, your judgment, all those things, your strength, your faith. This is the time when you touch that reset button and go within and use what God has given you. And with that, I'm going to pray us out. If anybody has any questions or needs to make contact, just text me and let me know what you need to do in order to be able to receive the message. This morning, I am inviting you. I have your phone numbers. I will probably text these to your numbers if it's okay. If anybody does not want to be contacted, just let me know.
So I have a question. So how do we get our tithes and offerings to you during this period?
What we're going to be doing is we are going to, you can either mail them into the Ease the Spirit post office box, or you can use, what is that?
Cash App right now.
Cash App.
And I'm working on PayPal.
And we're working to institute PayPal for that as well.
Okay.
We flash the screen come at the end of every broadcast, the ways that you can make your contributions, but we haven't got that screen prepared just yet.
Okay.
So if there are no other questions, I'm just going to start in by saying for all of us, just to take one moment and take one deep, deep breath in, breathing in the very breath and life of God and exhaling all that we don't need. Start by saying, Father, we thank you for this gathering, this virtual gathering. For where two or more are gathered, whether in person or online, you are there. We know you are there, and we know that you hear us, for you hear us always. We thank you for the blessings that you bestow upon us on a daily basis. We thank you for our health. We thank you for our prosperity, whether it be material or whether it just be spiritual. We thank you for all that you give us. We thank you for this day. We thank you for waking us up in a right state of mind. And we thank you for what will be a restful night as we contemplate you, Father, and not the events of the day, not the events of the news, not the events that people are speaking. There is no power in them. There is only power in you. And we accept that. We understand that. We believe that. And we have faith in that. It is all you, Father, and there is nothing else. And with that, we start by saying the prayer of protection. The light of God
The
surrounds
light of God surrounds us.
God.
The love of God holds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and so it is.
As well.
Amen and amen. Wherever we are.
Amen.
Thank you. Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you, James. Sorry
Thank
for your
you.
loss.
Thank you, Bethany.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
It says end meeting.
And my daughter called,
Mhm.
so let me call my mother first.